Hi, this is a walk in the woods where I will share my sense making around a topic that's important to me and invite you to do the same. Today I'll talk about innovation. To first understand what I mean by innovation, it's important to look at another concept, and that is creative tension. Peter Singer defines creative tension as the gap between vision and current reality. I define innovation as the process of closing that gap. When looking at organizations, it's not uncommon to hear people talking about creativity and innovation in R&D departments and product development departments. But I would argue that we need to broaden the definition of innovation to cover things like transformative project scoping and strategy conversations. Any situation where a gap between vision and reality needs to have good ideas on how to close it. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time breaking down 3 facets of innovation that I think might help clarify why I believe this definition needs to be broader. The first is around the fact that innovation is not a static process. When I think about this, I always turn to a framework that I love dearly, which is the Cynefin framework, which was developed by Dave Snowden. I have not drawn the entire Cynefin framework here and will not spend time in this video trying to explain the whole framework. But I would like to point out the notion that there are some situations that have a high degree of unknowns and other situations that are more known. And I would suggest that the process of strategy includes both, but traditionally we treat it as if it only includes things that are known. So the traditional approach to strategy is to go off-site, invite some management consultants along with the leaders, and decide what we should do, as if it were a known exercise that if you're smart enough and high enough of an expert, you can know. I would suggest that this process needs to be treated a little bit more like it's an unknown process, so that you can tap into ideas and the creative process to explore how to move from the current reality to the future vision. In this process, there will be things that come out of it that are more known, like you might find out you need to upgrade a system or implement a new system. Then you can roll that over into a project and treat it differently. But I would suggest that there will be some things that come out of it that remain complex activities, such as trying to change the culture. And in this situation, I would strongly advise against trying to do an as-is to be exercise for trying to change a culture. There are consultants out there who will come with template solutions to this type of activity. But this is where I believe things get a bit problematic and why I think you should be more innovative in this process. Being more innovative in this process involves coming up with good ideas and then running experiments to see if those ideas are working, and if they are, amplifying them, and if they're not, dampening them or changing them. And that is why the innovative process is not static. Secondly, I would like to talk about the requisite variety. Typically, you wouldn't think to bring a high variety of people into a strategic conversation. In fact, most companies would be quite secretive about these types of discussions. That's why it's important to note the word requisite. I'm not suggesting that you should invite everybody into a strategy conversation, but I am suggesting you should open it up to invite more perspectives in than you probably are today. Ashby's law from cybernetics is also called the law of requisite variety, and it states that only variety destroys variety. If you think about it this way, and you think about how complex some of the decisions and the strategies we're developing for companies are, it actually makes sense to open up the input in the complex space to be able to ensure that the range of perspectives is wide enough to be able to include possibilities that might otherwise not be explored if you're only looking for things that have worked in the past with quantitative data, for example. The final thing I'd like to talk about is dialogue. It's a very common word, but I'd like to talk about it more academically from the work of David Bohm, where he talks about the art of dialogue being a collective process where colleagues are coming together and sharing their points of view in a non-judgmental way in order to achieve a shared understanding. This exercise is critical to being able to fully understand a shared perception of reality and to understand a shared vision for the future. I want to be clear here, this doesn't mean all opinions are equally valid and that there are no facts, that there's no way you can ever really know something. I'm not constructing some sort of postmodern argument down that path. What I am suggesting is that oftentimes organizations close down and don't have these dialogues because they can get quite awkward if done casually. This is where politics can get quite hairy. This is where elephants in the room don't get discussed. This is where stress and fights can break out. And people sometimes just withdraw from the conversation and look for close down and look for a simple solution. I would highly suggest, and Peter Singh also suggests in the fifth discipline, that you should have a facilitator objectively guide you through these dialogues in situations with high variety of opinion. And this facilitator needs to be someone who is objective and doesn't have a vested interest in the outcome of the discussion. Thanks for taking the time today to hear a little bit more about what innovation means to me. I would love if you would like to share your sense making with me, either in the comments or privately. And please also reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day.